guys, welcome back to my channel. So today, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking about my autism story. I'm going to tell my story for when I was younger, like stuff that I struggled with, what I dealt with, and then all up to the point where I got diagnosed, which was only a couple months ago. And the entire story is a really, really long one, but I think it's really, really important that we talk about stuff like this because I feel like autism is one of those things that people assume is one thing, and that only people who are nonverbal or have lots of tics and stuff like that, those are the people that have autism, and every other person who doesn't have that doesn't. They think it's just like one set thing when it's not. So to start off with, I'm going to be saying what is autism. I'm going to do a Google definition and my personal definition. So the Google definition is a mental condition present from early childhood characterized by difficulty in communicating and forming relationships with other people and in using language and abstract concepts. So that's the Google definition, and I think that's true, but I do think that it's missing certain parts and elements. My definition is someone who has difficulty communicating with others, of course, and difficulty with social cues, social interaction, as well as difficulty learning and doing new things. So, myself, I have high-functioning autism. Technically, high-functioning autism is not a thing. People just use the term high-functioning, meaning that I can talk, I can do simple tasks and stuff like that, but still, I do deal with some of the traits that autistic people have. So let's start from the very, 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 very beginning, from when I was little. So I was born April 3rd, 2002. I had a really, really good childhood. I was a little baby. I would laugh, I would smile, I would do like all that stuff. The thing where my parents first started, suspecting that something was wrong with me was I did not speak until I was 3 years old. And generally, babies start speaking when they're like 1.5 or 2. So my parents thought, there's something wrong with her. And I think they just ruled out thinking like, she's just like learning stuff later than everyone else. So my parents decided to give me a speech therapist. I eventually started speaking, and obviously, as you can tell, I can speak very, very well right now. So obviously it worked, obviously. So, and then around 4 or 5, that's also when my parents started to notice myself, like some quirky things that I would do. I would, like when I was hanging out with people, I would tend to do things on my own. Anyways, when I was little, when I was like hanging out with people, I tend to go off into the distance and go catch butterflies and go catch bugs. Like I just liked being on my own. Like I didn't really hang out with people and little kids when I was younger. My mom thought that was just a quirky thing about me. That's just what I did, that I just liked playing by myself. And then around 6 years old, I think that's when it started. When I was starting to dress myself, but my mom was still dressing me as well. I remember my mom tried to put jeans on me, and every time she put them on me, I scream and I have an entire just like tantrum because I hated the feeling of them. I know this doesn't seem relevant to what I'm talking about, but it is very, 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 very much relevant to what I'm talking about. So, I just did not like wearing jeans. I hated the feeling. I would start crying. I would start throwing a fit if I had to touch jeans, if I had to wear them. I just could not stand them at all. I hated them so, so much. Obviously, that has changed now, but I do not like tight clothes on me because tight clothes just makes me feel weird. So, where was I? Oh yeah, talking about I did not like jeans when I was younger. And as well, my mom noticed ever since I was little, I've always been like this. I get very, very attached and connected to people. Like, my mom tells me a story. There was this girl who used to babysit me. I forget her name, but I saw her once. And then, like, after that, I would just talk about her all the time. Like, she would be everything that I wanted to be. I wanted to be around her. I wanted to talk to her and stuff like that. And my mom was always just, like, feeling feeling like something was kind of off about me, but she just thought that was my personality, that I was just a very emotional person, and that was just the way that I was born, and there was nothing wrong with me. What else? Sorry, there's just like so many stuff that I've like dealt with when I was little that's like really like, now that I know I have autism, it really like just all completely makes sense. As I was growing up, oh, by the way, sorry if I go like back and forth from like when I was little to when I was older, when I was little to when I was older. Like, it's just stuff pops into my head. Oh wait, now I remember. When I was little, I used to be obsessed with Thomas the Train, like full on obsessed. I loved Thomas the Train. My favorite train was Percy. I was like full on obsessed with Thomas. I'm not quite sure why I was. All I know is that I was really obsessed with Thomas. I remember I got some trains for Christmas and my birthday, and I would play with them all the time. That was all I would talk about. I would line them up all in order, and I would just love playing with them. And speaking of that, I actually do have one thing. My mom kept this. She was going through her stuff and she found this, and it is one of my little trains that I had since I was little, and it is legit because it says it was made in 2002, and I was made in 2002, so this is very, very like sentimental to me. So where was I? Okay, so as I started getting older, I obviously started talking to people more. I started being myself. I quickly started to realize that I wasn't able to talk to other people, like neurotypical people. Neurotypical means people who do not have autism. So there's people on the spectrum. We use neurotypical as a saying for people who do not have autism. So neurotypical people were able to talk to other people so easily, and I always look at them and I'd just be like, whoa, how do you do that? Because like I tried talking to others and I just couldn't really quite grasp how to do it. I will always say too much, say too little. I just didn't understand stuff at all. So I always just thought, oh, I guess that's just me. I'll learn on later, like how to do it. It's just learning, because I was in grade school when I first started noticing that. And I just thought it was myself. I just thought it was me. Like I would learn on later. And as I got older, that's when I started realizing like it wasn't going away. And like some more traits started to come from me. In school, it got harder for me to pay attention. It's very, very, very hard for me to pay attention to something. If I don't fully grasp the concepts, I just will not understand it. I will not understand how to do it, and I'll end up just losing my focus because I don't understand it, because I can only do stuff when I completely understand it. So I started noticing that, and as well as just communicating with others, like it didn't go away, and I was just like, why can't I talk to people? Why don't I have a group of friends? Why don't I have a lot of friends right now? Like all through middle school, I thought that, and that's when I started to develop depression and anxiety. I've had anxiety my entire life, but it started showing up more and more in middle school because the people that I knew, like so many people had so many friends and like had a group of friends, and I would just sit in the library doing my own thing. Recalling back to when I was little, I used to be on my own, and I did that all through grade school and middle school as well. And during that time, I wanted to like have friends. I wanted to know some people. I wanted to be able to talk to people about interests and just things that I liked. So when I got to middle school, I noticed it was really hard to communicate with people. And then I found an artist named Melanie Martinez. You all know who she is. I'm not going to get into like what I think about the whole topic regarding Timothy. I will not do that. I'll say that for a separate video. But I listened to Melanie first back in 2014. So seventh grade. Yeah, seventh grade. I listened to her and just like I fell in love with her music. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, this is really good. And then for some reason, I forgot about her. I don't know how I did, but I just, like, got out of my mind. And then in 2015, that's when I rediscovered her. I remember exactly the moment when, that was back when, nail art videos were a thing. Oh, some more thing. In 2012 to 2014, I was so into nail polish. I loved everything related to nails. I learned every single thing, like taking care of my nails. I learned how to paint my nails. I learned how to paint this hand, which I know that seems stupid because, like, I'm right-handed. So, like, normally when you use your non-dominant hand to paint your nails, it doesn't look very nice, but I did lots of practice, and I know how to do that. I know nail care. I had around 200 bottles of nail polish. I was full-on obsessed. It was everything I ever thought about. It was everything I ever think about. It was everything that I ever talked about. It was just my everything. So, there is a little backstory to this. I was still liking nails, but it was, like, fading away. My entire life, I've always had these interests, like, intense interests, and, like, people wouldn't really understand why I had them. They'd just be like, oh, that's just Dryden. And my mom always liked that. She always liked how dedicated I got to things, and she just thought that was me. My mom always just thought it was, like, really, really quirky, and that was just how I am. So back in 2015, I found Melanie from a nail art video because there was her music playing in the background. I was like, oh my gosh, I like this. Who is this? And then I checked the comments and they said it's Carousel by Melanie Martinez. I was just like, oh wait, I know this girl. She had that song Dollhouse. So I immediately started listening to her, and I really got into her right before her album Crybaby dropped out. The second Crybaby dropped, I became the biggest fan ever. I started collecting her merch. I made a fan page for her in 2016 that ended up getting 24,000 followers that eventually got deleted due to hatred towards me. The username was Sippy's Cups. If you remember me, that was me. I started collecting everything related to Melanie. She was all I ever talked about. She was all I ever thunk about. She was my everything, literally my everything. Everything in my head was always Melanie. And some people got really annoyed by that. They would tell me to shut up and stop talking about her because I was being annoying, and to talk about something else, like stop talking about the same thing. And no matter how hard I tried, I just could not do it. I really could not do it, and I never really understood why. So then, during that time, in 2015, I met someone named Leia. This is very relevant to this story. She's my best friend still. Her Instagram is Art Dream. You guys probably know her. Follow her. Her Instagram's in the link in the description because we gotta promo her and promo myself too. Follow my Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Down below. So I met her, and I immediately became close with her. I loved Leia. I would talk to her all the time. Like, Leia was someone I really looked up to, and I was, like, really close like this with. And then we met in 2016 and in 2017 as well, and we weren't really talking as much then. She lives in New York, by the way. I forgot to say that. But still, I had, like, this intense connection to her. Like, I couldn't really understand it. I was, like, really attached to her, and I really, really did love Leia. Like, she was my best friend. Like, I just wanted to protect her and made sure she was okay. So, with the Melanie thing, she liked Melanie, too, so that just, like, made stuff, like, a bunch more stronger. And then in 2017, that's when, like, my love for Melanie started to die down, because I was just, like, I wasn't necessarily done. I was just, like, okay, like, I know everything about Melanie, because, like, when I have these, like, really interests, I do all my research on just that certain thing. Everything is that. So then I discovered slime, and obviously you all know what slime was. I was insanely obsessed with it. I made it, I sold it, I made it, like, every single day. I would play with it all the time. I had my own slime account, like, it was everything, and, like, I did all my research and stuff like that on, like, how to make it, and like what to do with it and stuff like that, and I became really, really, really obsessed with it. During this time in my life, I was at the lowest point I could ever get because I just could not talk to anyone. I mean this, I did not have any friends, and I was so depressed. I'm not using that as an adjective. I am diagnosed with depression. Just putting that out there. I will talk about my depression in a completely other video. I was at my lowest point ever, and I came fresh out of a suicide attempt, and that's when I finally decided to tell my mom, like, everything that I just, like, been through, like, depression-wise. Still liking slime. I used slime and Melanie to cope with what I was feeling, but I still felt so lonely. I had no one. I just wanted to die. Like, I really thought I was never going to get better. But then August of 2017, I told my mom everything, and she took me to a therapist, and the therapist said I would probably benefit from medicine, so I went to go see a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists are the ones that give you medicine. So we went in, we talked to him for 3 hours. He gave me my antidepressants, and then he said, I think you might have autism. And when I first heard that, I was just like, what? Like, no, that's not possible, because I had this set idea what autism is. And I was just, like, really confused. I'm just like, why? And it was just, like, because you can't really, like, stay on, like, one topic. Like, I will start talking about one thing and then branch out to something else. And you could see in this video, I did exactly that. So people with autism tend to have a trait like that. Not saying all, but it tends to happen where you just, like, branch off of everything, and then you go to a topic that's completely not related to what you started with. So when I heard that, I was just like, no, that's not possible. And he was just like, we want to get you tested to see, because from what you were talking about, your experiences and how I've been seeing you act for the past, like, 3 hours, I want to get you tested to see, like, if you do have it, because I feel like you could benefit from it. So then I started crying because I was overwhelmed, because it's just like, that's not possible. It is impossible that I have autism. And he further explained, like, I would use my hands. You could see me using my hands in this video. I use my hands when talking. When I get really, really, really excited, I start moving, shaking my hands, and also just, like, stretching them out like this. I would also not make a lot of eye contact. Eye contact is something that I'm just, like, scared of. Not necessarily scared, I just, like, don't really like doing it. It's just, I can't really make eye contact that much. And that's why I'm not looking at the camera as much, because, like, eye contact. But, so immediately when I got home, I started, like, searching up, because it was just like, it's impossible that I have autism. It is absolutely impossible. Because, I forgot to say this, back in 2nd grade, I had my best friend, we're gonna call him Brad. Brad had autism, and, he was able to speak a little bit, so he was a little bit verbal, but for the most part, he was nonverbal. He had lots of traits of him moving his arms, of him, academically, he was, challenged. He needed, like, more help with stuff like that. And, like, I was his best friend. I loved him so much. He was so sweet and so nice and amazing. And I just thought everyone with autism was like that. So, like, that's why when I first heard it, I was just like, that's not possible. It is impossible that I have autism. So immediately went home and started doing my research. And I learned that autism is a spectrum. It's called ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. And that means you can either be at the very beginning or at the very, very, very end. You could be high functioning or extremely low functioning. Is an entire spectrum, as well as all the traits and everything about it is an entire spectrum. And no person with autism is alike. There's a saying, I forget who it's by, but it says, if you met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism, because they're the only person with the exact traits and the exact spot on the spectrum. And I forgot to say this, but autism is a disability. It is not a mental illness. It is a disability because it affects people socially, academically, with growing and stuff like that. So it is a disability that others have. So I started doing my research, and I was just like, whoa, like, this is like totally me. And then I found Asperger's, which is basically high functioning autism, but it's like a different saying. But I have autism, I don't have Asperger's. With Asperger's, the first thing that I saw was limited interests. And that is when you get hyper focused on something and only talk about that and only, like, that's everything. And I was just like, wait, that's totally me. Like, I totally get like that. Like, if I find something I really like, I do all my research, and it's just everything I obsess about. Like, my current thing right now is Alaska. Just Alaska. And I will save that for a completely different video. I want to make a video where I just talk about Alaska for, like, as long as I want and upload it so you guys can see what it's like when you have limited interests. I'll go more in depth in a completely other video with my traits and stuff like that. So I started to realize, like, oh, I'm like that. Oh, have a hard time socializing with others. Oh, I have a hard time doing this. Oh, I have a hard time doing that. So throughout the year of 2018, I was just like, oh, wait, like, this is something that I do that is, like, a symptom of autism. My mom, myself, and one of my teachers had to fill out a sheet, a questionnaire, based on, like, how I behave and stuff like that. It took a while because my mom had to do the longest one. She had to do a ton more pages than myself or my teacher could do. And then it came the time where she turned it in. The appointment came, and I went in. It was on I think it was on a Friday. First week of August, I went in. I was scared, nervous, but I was also, like, excited. So I did the testing. They tested they tested me by, like, reading a book with no words, like, to say what's happening, to, like, make up scenarios, to tell, like, a little bit about myself. And then we went to, like, this other room, where she told me, like, to solve some patterns and also, like, vocabulary and stuff like that while I was being observed. So then that took about 5 hours, and we got there at 8. 5 hours later at 1, I was waiting, and I said I wanted to be told the results with my mom. So they called us both in, and then they said that I have autism. And I immediately started tearing because I was just like, it's not because I was sad, it's because I was happy, because it was just like, now I know why I'm like this. Now I know why I'm not neurotypical or like everyone else, why I can't understand things that others can understand. Like, I just, like, there's just a whole piece of me was missing. Like, it was that last missing puzzle piece that I wanted to figure out. And the second that I got told that, I changed completely, like, for the better. I started being myself. I used to hide my personality and who I was because I was so embarrassed. But now, like, I've just embraced it. Like, and all my friends understand me. Like, I'm a very loud person, and that is due to my autism. Like, I don't even realize it sometimes. And I've had multiple times where people say you're loud and annoying, and it's just like, that's just who I am. It's not an excuse. It says in my diagnosis that it is because of my autism. So just, like, finding that out was life-changing, like, seriously life-changing. And I'm so happy and thankful that I was able to be diagnosed with something that just solved all my questions. So now I know. And very, very happy that I decided to tell my mom what I was feeling, because if I didn't, I would have never gone to the therapist or seen a psychiatrist or given medicine or been told that, like, he thinks I have autism, because, like, mine is, like, high functioning, and it's so, like, it's not noticeable, because you just see me and you just think, oh, she's quirky, but then there are some parts of me where you're just like, oh, she's weird, and it's just because I have autism. There's just some things that I can't understand, or some things that I do that I really just can't control. And so I'm very, very happy that I was diagnosed. 16 years of my life, no one suspected anything, and now it's, like, all in place, and, like, I know myself now, and I'm able to protect myself. I know when to calm down. I know how to calm myself down. I, like, know all that stuff, and it's a lot. It's really, really good. So, yeah. I will be starting group therapy, which everyone in the group will have autism like me. So I've done group therapy before. It doesn't work as well because, like, I have problems. They're just like, oh, do this, do that. And I'm just like, but I can't. So it's going to be nice being in a group of people who have the same thing as me, and, like, they understand the struggles that I go through, and I will understand their struggles. As well as I'll be starting behavioral therapy, which means they'll start teaching me stuff that is essential, but it'll be taught in a different way, because there are certain things that have to be taught in a completely different way, because I won't understand it no matter how many times you tell me. It just has to be in a completely different, separate way. So yeah, that's my story with autism and finding out that I had it. My plan for this channel is to start talking more about mental health, disabilities, just all that stuff, because mental health is so important. It is really so important. I hate the stigma around it at all, and I just want you guys and just, like, others to know that, like, mental health is so important, that it is okay to be struggling, and it's okay to get help. It's totally okay, because everyone has their own battles. Every single person has their own battles and is dealing with something. It's so important that we let go of that stigma, because it really destroys all the progress that we make. And I have to admit, the progress we've made, like, in 2018 is intense. Like, back in the 90s, I know that's a horrible time. I wasn't alive then. But, like, just the mental health then, like, mental health now. Mental health is, like, so important. And it keeps on growing, the importance of it, the awareness of it keeps on growing. But as it's growing, also negative sides come down, where people use it in bad places. And I'll be making more videos on that. So yeah, that is my entire story with autism. I know I left out some things, mostly, like, traits that I have. I will be going in another video, like I said. We're gonna stripe all my traits just thoroughly and through, so people understand, like, I'm not trying to be this, I'm not trying to be that. This is just the way that I am, and I'm not faking it. I would never fake something like that. I've had people say that you're faking it, which is pretty hurtful, but I tend to get over it. It is so important. Mental health is so important. If you or someone you love is struggling, please try to talk to them, get them help, give them some hotlines. I'm going to put some hotlines down below just in case you need them, because mental health, I cannot stop saying mental health is so important. If your mind's not good, you're not good at all. It's just the truth. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you sat down and watched all this, I know it's a lot of information to take a lot in, but if you're still here, thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and I just really want to put the message out here that others with autism are okay. Everyone with autism is different, and we're normal. We're just normal like everyone else. We're normal like neurotypicals. We just have struggles, and we deal with some stuff that others don't. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Follow my social medias down below. I'll put them in the description. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next YouTube video. Bye.